Entry complete. Like, comment, subscribe. The archive remembers. This video contains content that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Unexpectedly, Astrakhan Kun in the thread, requesting cool stuff about this city, since I don't know any myself.
Back in school, teacher told she ran with kids through catacombs under Kremlin 30 years ago. Passages still hold through Volga, and according to her, there was whole town, rooms, corridors, some descents. Then couple kids disappeared, and passages were sealed. Don't know why, to not let someone in, or not let something out.
Don't know much. They talk about some statue with burning eyes, a ghost girl. A couple of hunting tales about unknown creatures and mermaids. The only thing I really remember is the catacombs under our Kremlin. Yeah, they're really 3 levels deep. The first one is boring, no real goodies, just a couple of empty old wooden boxes and some meaningless scribbles on the walls. The second is completely flooded. Swimming there is impossible. Even with a powerful light from a buoy lamp and a car battery, you can't see farther than 15 meters. The water is muddy, and you can't see anything anyway. But some daredevils found lower hatches, they just don't open. There's a legend that long ago monks summoned some nyuk there, and everything went to hell. And the Kremlin territory itself, after it was closed, is a total mess. Stories about missing people, strangely behaving shadows, ghosts in the towers. Personally, 6 years ago I saw in a tower basement almost a skeleton surrounded by 2 rat corpses and a hatch going down. From there, it became a slag block plant, and the guy left behind a paved road and fucked off with simply awesome speed. Can tell more if you want.
A weird, hairy dude. Anons from Moscow and Moscow Oblast. Once on Sosach, I read a magazine called UFO in the Reader's Letters section. Of course, I can't vouch for the authenticity of these letters, but I remember a letter from a man who saw a hairy monster in his room at night when he was a child. Yes, horned, not some soft woolly thing. He also said that grandmothers and families in the Moscow region use this creature to scare children. So, have you ever heard of such a creature?
Stavropol Kun in the thread got a good story. In the 90s, we had this visiting authority entrepreneur who traded VCRs, cassettes, tape recorders, and other rare stuff that was super hard to get back then. He was filthy rich, but apparently crossed someone and got killed along with his entire family right in their house. The most interesting part, the little boy's body was never found. Family hits usually mean killing everyone, so only 2 possibilities. Either the boy ran away before it happened, or someone stole the corpse. The house was somewhere near the hospital, close to the city center, with a railroad right there. The same one where motorcyclists got hit, LOL. Anyway, they tried to sell the house twice. First time, a young couple moved in. Both died from lung disease. Their relatives tried to sell it. A few years later, some builder bought it, tore the house down, and for some reason dug up the ground several meters with a bulldozer. Then he freaked out, abandoned everything, and moved to another city, left the pit behind. That's the house. I only heard about it recently from a Zek acquaintance of a former convict.
Hi fellow countryman, that's all bullshit, 90s tales. Maybe the place got overgrown with tales because of bad fame of families who lived there. I don't know, but the tale is creepy. And about the mill, Kruger, and entrances and exits going underground in the Russian forest. Yeah, I've heard a lot about those. Can you tell more? By the way, about caves and stuff, I remember living in Moskovskom a long time ago. Me and the guys had nothing to do, so we wandered toward a small artificial pond. There was this dugout where an old grandpa lived. We could always beg him for an old pistol or rifle to shoot. He always had powder and cartridges. One time he started telling us about earthquakes, and said there were caves in Moskovskom. I asked other old-timers, and they said Grandpa was bullshitting a bit. The catacombs are in Kursavka, near some winding mountain on the side of the river LOL, wherever that mountain and river even are. In Moskovskom there were never any caves. So me and the guys, 3 of us total, drove with one friend's dad to Kursavka in an old shitty Zhiguli 5. I was afraid the thing would fall apart on the road. We got there, and on the 3rd day found some mountain, more like a hill, but really clean and pretty, with a river flowing nearby. We started climbing, and looking around. One friend yells quick, "Come here!" I ran over, and there's this hatch half open, very wide. We shined inside, no bottom visible. We pulled the cover aside and started checking it out. It wasn't a regular hatch, it was a fucking huge deep shaft, at least that's how it seemed to me then, with a ladder in the wall. So I, being the bravest, climbed down. I was just a kid. Crawled a long way, then heard this wild rumble below, and almost right away hot air blasted up from the bottom of the shaft. I got scared and almost fell, but held on, looked down with the light, and at the very bottom there's another hatch with holes. You can see fires burning under it. The hatch was as far as China on foot, so I climbed back up. It seemed like there was some room down there under the hatch, and this was the entrance, light from bulbs in the room coming through. I still remember my fingers wouldn't bend from the terror, lol. Also, when my friend's dad found out we climbed there, he beat all of us with a belt so hard no one wanted to climb anywhere after. He said some fool had already gone down there and came out dry. After a while his skin dried out, covered in sores and scabs, all his hair fell out, eyes turned red, and he died very fast. Years later I learned they might have been doing radiation experiments down there. Apparently there are similar shafts in Kabardino-Balkaria too. I was scared I'd gotten irradiated and thought I might mutate.
Tell more? Yeah, Kruger abandoned construction on wasteland left of Neptune factory. Small building, looks like car service or something. Between the first and second floor there's a big hole in the concrete slab, about 1 meter to 1.5 meters wide, and rebar sticks out in it. 5 rods. They say kids played there a lot, and one fell head first into the hole. He caught his head on those rods and ended up with 5 deep scars. That's why they call the place Kruger, like Freddy Krueger's glove grabbed the kid. That's what people say. And this is my own story. Me and a couple friends went to that construction site to drink all night. Not just any night, Walpurgis night. We were young back then, really into goth and mysticism. The first floor of Kruger had gravel everywhere. The second was pure concrete. We went up to the second floor to drink. We sat quietly, no lights, because the guard from Neptune would chase us if we lit up. Around 1 a.m. we start hearing footsteps on the gravel below, and 2 girls' voices. They're laughing, talking about something. Sounded like young chicks, teens like us. We heard it. I shushed my friends and pointed to the hole. Like, quiet, they'll come close, and I'll stick my head in and bark, that'll be hilarious. I quietly crept up to the hole, the girls' voices getting closer. I shoved my head through fast. Fuck, no one there. At all. The sound was right below, 1 meter down on the lower floor. No footsteps on gravel, no voices. Just cut off. We talked about it for ages afterward. No idea what the hell it was. I'll write more about the Russian forest later.
My batya told me story from youth, how he moonlighted as guard in old school. 2 options. Either he stayed alone, or kids from the district would come with girls to drink. He'd let them in for some cash, as long as everything stayed chill. If he didn't let them, he'd lock himself in the booth for the night and just sit it out. And every single night, the same creepy shit started. Footsteps in the corridor, like someone was walking around. He said he chased them a couple times through the whole school, up to the 4th floor and back. They'd go quiet, then start again somewhere far off. In the end, he talked to a buddy who worked there too, same exact thing. So one night they decided to sit it out together. They heard the footsteps at the same time, coming right toward their booth. They stopped outside, waited a bit, then just left. Next day, both of them quit. That's the story. Chelyabinsk.
Got a couple ghost stories, not super creepy, but here's what we've got. I live in Lithuania, in one pretty old small town. A few kilometers away there's an old 2-story building. They say Napoleon stayed there on his way back. The second floor has been empty for a long time, it is even now, while people still live on the first floor. If anyone moves up to the second floor, they don't stay long. The thing is, according to stories, a poltergeist lives there. It breaks glass, smashes dishes, throws things around, basically impossible to live with. I saw the broken glass myself, it's been replaced now, but it never touches the first floor. They say it started after someone found a human skull in the forest and brought it into the building. I could go ask the people on the first floor, but I'm a lazy piece of shit. Also, we have an old estate nearby that's recently being restored. It was a total ruin before. Next to it there's a park. Once when I was little Pizduk, 11 or 12, we went there with school for a picnic. The windows had been boarded up long ago. Doors locked, we couldn't get in. So we all crowded around the big doors and windows to peek through the cracks, just curious. They were pretty wide, up to 15 centimeters between boards sometimes. Basically nothing visible inside, just cold wind blowing out. Someone from my friends called me, I turned away, and suddenly the whole crowd at the doors starts screaming and running off. I didn't get it, and without waiting for an answer to what happened, I went to look. I don't know, maybe I imagined it, but it seemed like I saw a quick blue silhouette flash by too. But not just me, the whole crowd ran, not one person. Then everyone described the same thing. Something fast flashed through the corridor like a lightning bolt. Was it real, herd instinct, or group hallucination?
Cool stories all from childhood. Some mom told few years ago. Some I remember myself. Pick related, approximate apartment plan. She said things constantly moved places, and money too. To places no one usually puts anything. For example, money from wallet to pocket of some jacket lying in deepest corner of fucking mezzanine where no one climbed for years. With my birth it got even funnier. Slept in so-called small room with parents. Sleep always restless, screamed at night. Long couldn't fall asleep. Walking at half year obviously couldn't. Once at night mom was in toilet and suddenly leans to crack in floor. And there dad says, "What the fuck are you crazy?" From kitchen towards small room heard baby footsteps top. After which I started bawling. My first conscious childhood memory also connected to that room. I'm at bathtub and for some reason can't stand up. Either walked badly then or legs went numb for some reason. In small room light off and door open. Something scared me a lot. Can't move or run to parents. Panic started and I began crawling as fast as possible to big room to parents. Regularly led parents to empty corner or spot. Pointed finger and said uncle. From which parents shat bricks. Regularly sleepwalked and talked to someone in sleep. Later moved out of apartment. But 10 years ago sister forced to live there. Slept in small room. Said she also jumped up at night and shat bricks from something unclear. Tried asking her. Denied, said nonsense. But after 2 weeks living brought priest who lit everything. Then she herself walked apartment with church candles. Moved back 5 years ago myself, but nothing strange anymore. Even sat in that room at night, lights off, tried to contact Nyuch, but nothing, empty. Either it left place or hid, until...
Bugrinskaya Roish, a shitty park in Novosibirsk. It really was built on a cemetery where they buried Tifoznikov in the early 20th century. There was a major typhus epidemic in Novosibirsk back then. But there were plenty of shady types hanging around. Cops caught a maniac, rapists, just regular Gopatu. When I was a kid, my grandma and I also ran into one creepy guy. This dude comes up to us, starts pretending to be a deaf mute. Grandma sent something off right away and we got away from him fast. Then we leave the park and we see the mute casually chatting with some hotch.
Novosibirsk was basically built on cemeteries in general. Cemeteries were on the outskirts. The city grows and swallows the outskirts. As a result, one summer I saw a local news report that while they were digging a pit for the foundation of a new wing at the hospital on Nemirovicha Denchenka, at a depth of 3 meters they dug up graves and skulls were stuck on shovel handles. Patients from the neighboring buildings noticed it quickly, complained to the reporters, and they made a story out of it. So I called my classmate and we rode over to check it out. In the evening, across the whole city on bicycles, climbed over the fence, walked around the construction site cemetery, collected a couple skeletons, admired a skull without a lower jaw. I found myself a nice anvil with an 8-kilogram head and a half-meter handle. Whatever.
Good thread. Thanks OP, you beat me to it. LOL. I know one urban legend from DS2 that's been told in our family for almost 100 years now. It's easy to Google, the legend of monk Prokopi. In short, like this. There once lived in the mid-19th century, some say late, but I'm going by my grandma's stories more than internet writers. Near Starovolkovskoye Kladbishye, a monk named Prokopi. Just a normal guy for profit, he dug up graves. Whatever he found was his. He made healing potions from bones and herbs, sold them, and what he dug up to whoever needed it for decent money back then. Was also the abbot of a small church. The guy had cash. Only one thing he didn't have, a wife. One night while working in the field, a girl of unearthly beauty appeared to him. He went to her. She vanished. She appeared every night. Little by little, he fell in love with her. Eventually, he started going to the graves not for money, but for her. Money ran out. He got very sick. And then she appears in his house and says, "Do you want to be with me forever? In one night, gather such and such herbs, sprinkle them with powder from the bones of small children, cut out the heart of a freshly dead virgin, mix it, pour everything with the blood of 6 women servants." Internet folks say either 6 whores or 6 little girls, but I believe my grandma more, because I haven't seen those details anywhere else except from her. Pull out a cross from the cemetery, break it, drink the potion and blaspheme God 666 times and you'll have eternal life in me. So he gathered everything, did as she said, drank it, and started blaspheming. What a word, LOL. But he didn't finish blaspheming. At sunrise, he fell down dead. According to witnesses, my great-great-grandma, she was a little girl back then, and the gendarmes. Instead of legs, he had little hooves, and black cat fur appeared on his face. Since then, sometimes on that cemetery you can meet the shadow of Prokopi, searching for something but unable to find it. They say whoever he meets will become a ghost searching for a new victim themselves. I can't not believe it. A lot of people disappeared there. Mostly bums and alcoholics, but there were other cases in the 90s when perfectly normal people disappeared. For example, the young daughter of my neighbors went missing there without a trace. That's it.
Good story, but one thing I don't get, how did anyone find out about the woman who appeared to him? And especially about the details of the ritual she told him. He could have told others about the beautiful woman, but a ritual involving murder. He probably wouldn't have told anyone about that. And he didn't have time anyway, he ran straight to do it because he really wanted to fuck her. And there were no other witnesses to the conversation, right? Also, no urban legends here, but there's a yard one. We had some bushes in our yard, or rather that's what we called them, but actually it was like a mini forest, pretty big. Trees about a couple of meters tall but very branchy. Several paths, quite decent size, located right at the edge of the yard so people didn't pass by. And around it was just a field. From inside you could see perfectly when someone approached, and these bushes were in the corner of the yard, right up against a very high wall of some factory, so it was always in shadow. A very gloomy place, yet it was super popular with kids from 10 to 20 years old because the trees were so branchy, and with walls on two sides, even in winter without leaves it was hard to see what was happening inside from outside, and in summer you couldn't see anything at all from outside. Anyway, there were always a lot of empty bottles. I saw syringes a couple of times too. Older kids partied there, and us younger ones could even play hide and seek there. Generally a great place, on one hand isolated from adults and random people, on the other very popular and everyone knew about it. The creepy part is that a guy really got killed there once. Nothing mystical, just a drunken fight. He fell on a rock and cracked his skull. But of course we all believed that his ghost lived in the bushes, and we thought he only came at night because the guy died right around 2 a.m. I remember running around there looking for clues, and as soon as it got dark we wouldn't even go close. When I was 14 they cut them all down, and I didn't even see it because I was at grandma's in the summer.
Great, we didn't miss a good thread, one of the few left on post-Sosach. The ritual involving murder. He probably wouldn't have told anyone about that. Babusia told it. According to her, it happened that 3 out of the 6 victims were exactly the mother of my great-great-grandmother and her 2 sisters, 1 full sister and 1 cousin, who were servants for some local big shot. Plus, it was obvious that 6 women had been killed. From the fact that my great-great-grandmother was treated for a long time from shock, bedwetting, fears, turned to orthodoxy, and from the gendarme's stories, he conducted the interrogation, surprise. Husband of the cousin's sister, a small chief in the gendarmes. It was clear what was scattered around the cemetery, some approximation of gore from that one.
Vuberg. They tell about a Swedish burial mound that appeared in those places during the Northern War. There are reports of moans coming as if from underground, as well as strange figures spotted in the park that's been laid out over the mound. One of the most incredible stories happened to a schoolboy who was walking his dog. According to him, black crooked hands reached out from the ground and dragged his dog into the depths.
In short, list of similar stories in our area. 1. The Ghost Bride, 7 Winds Restaurant. 2. The Admiral Nahimov steamship. 3. The Girl with Hooves. 4. The Pshadskaya Maiden.
Aprti Amich bursts into the thread. So nothing good in Omsk, huh? The Girl with Hooves that's actually near Almaty, Kopchagai Highway, fucking scary tale. Though it depends on the storyteller. I don't have much connection to Almaty, but I'll search now. I have some old forum posts somewhere, discussions of this shit and all that. Whatever interesting I find I'll post here. Again, Pshadskaya Maiden, that's somewhere in the North Caucasus I think. Legend about a ghost that lures men into the water and drowns them, or is that not it? Bro, where are you from yourself? You got hoofed girls there too.
Internet had tons of reports from all sorts of people saying they heard strange, incomprehensible hum from the sky in Omsk, videos attached too. Also, I'm from Chekhovsk myself, never heard such shit. But we have Tets right nearby. Once I was walking home from work in summer through cemetery then along tracks, still light out, and from Tets came this blood-chilling hum, holy shit, and unclear where from. Sound felt like it came from everywhere and the air vibrated. If you don't know the source, you could easily think Astaroth and Belial are riding chariots across the sky. Maybe authors of all those strange sounds posts are so up the ass they don't know they live next to Tets?
From Tets came this blood-chilling hum steam release, bro. Especially the emergency kind. Suddenly lights dim, turbine slows, ground, floor shakes under feet, and around there's this insane, penetrating satanic roar that you don't hear but feel on your skin. Good if emergency lighting kicks in like in movies, with adjustment for shitty Russia. First time I saw that show, I didn't shit myself completely, only because I froze solid lol. But the real fuck-up is when it combines with steam pipe rupture. Rooms, especially small ones, instantly fill with thick fog that drops visibility to zero. And running into a jet of sharp steam, 440 degrees C, and 40 bar is considered pretty average in heat power engineering. For a human is almost 100% hellish death, even in thick clothes. Which is still way less painful than what happens to the guy who caused the accident, lol. Only thing that might warn you about approaching the jet is the characteristic hiss, whistle. Such things. Mimo energetic.
The Ghost Bride, Seven Winds Restaurant. Old-timers swear the ghost is the daughter of some big local official back then. They say the tragedy happened in the 1950s during her wedding at the restaurant called At Seven Winds. A rejected suitor showed up right in the middle of the fun and stabbed the bride in front of guests and the groom. After that, accidents started happening a lot in that area. Drivers kept crashing. Soon the restaurant closed too. Rumors it was a black place scared customers away. All the dead girl's relatives died quickly after, and the groom killed himself. The poor girl's spirit still can't rest. They say she walks around looking for her killer. By the way, the murderous suitor vanished like he fell into water that night. Cops never found him. The girl with hooves. A taxi driver coming back late at night from the village Praskovievka to the city saw a girl hitchhiking on the side of the road. They talked through the open window about where to and how much. The girl opened the door and started getting in. The driver sees a goat hoof instead of a leg, freaks the fuck out and floors it. The girl falls, hits the car door with her hoof. Only when he gets to the city and shows his colleagues, they see a dent on the door shaped exactly like a hoof. Also remembered a few more stories. Ghost of the Bottomless Lake. Ghost of the bride who died in a car crash near the village Vozrozhdenian. In the settlement Svetli, an old woman died who everyone said was a witch. After her death, men started dying noticeably more often in that settlement, and all the deaths were somehow connected to head injuries. There's also the Dolmani, but stories about them are only from Ren TV. And there's a belief that in the bay of the city, Gelenjik lives Cthulhu himself.
This story is about my dad's friend. He used to be a big joker and drinker. My dad says in his youth he never saw him sober for years. Though he worked fine, got married, just every evening like clockwork he'd down a bottle with herring. But he's been off booze for 30 years now. After one incident. It was 1980. This uncle, let's call him Idar, not his real name, was driving home from another city, a bit tipsy, nighttime, and suddenly he sees a pretty blonde hitchhiking on the side of the road. Uncle Idar was over the moon. He was young, hot blood, of course he stopped. Asked where to, beauty? She smiles languidly and names the same city he's going to. She gets in the front passenger seat, they drive and chat. Then he suddenly notices under her skirt, instead of legs, goat hooves sticking out. First he thinks it's a trick of the light, but then he looks closer and freaks the hell out. Uncle starts thinking what to do, and comes up with a plan. He pulls over and asks the beauty with goat hooves to step out and check the right front headlight. Says it looks like it's not working. The girl gets out, he slams the door of his Jiguli and floors it. But no luck, as soon as he sighs in relief, he sees in the rearview mirror the blonde smoothly catching up. He's already at insane speed, she's not falling behind, and then he hears her hooves clacking on the left side. Looks, she's running alongside and peering in his window. Guy's not a coward, but as he put it, he pissed himself, but he set his mind on getting home. He makes it to his yard but can't get out. The chick is circling his car like crazy, running around. He starts honking hard, but it's like no one hears his horn, and then he passes out. Morning they find him unconscious, heart attack. They saved Uncle Idar, but since then he doesn't drink and never drives at night. Anyway, I live in Almaty. Not far from the city there's Kapchigai Lake, artificial by the way. Once I went there with my little sister and uncle because mom had left for a week. Nothing special on the way. We slept, played cities, didn't notice we'd arrived. Met my brother and his friends there. Evening we all sat together telling scary stories. Some interested me and even scared me. If you don't know, local legends here say Kapchigai swallowed half or a quarter of a cemetery, and now accidents happen on the highway for no clear reason. So here are a few stories. One time a young couple was driving, guy at the wheel, girl next to him. They stopped for a girl who looked normal at first, but then it turns out her torso is human, but instead of legs, hooves. I didn't believe the kids because they often joked and it was hard to tell lie from truth, until I saw it with my own eyes. When we were returning to Almaty toward evening, I saw something. I was leaning on the door the whole way. I only looked right and forward. The nightmare is when I turned and looked back. I saw the girl with hooves who suddenly disappeared. After that I never went to Kapchigai again and don't plan to. I want to tell you one story too. Note I live in Kazakhstan, so this happened here too. It was about 5-6 years ago with the uncle of my close friend. Her uncle was driving alone on the highway, probably from relatives, heading home. Long trip. He'd just bought a Toyota Prado. Car was still breaking in, max 60-90 kilometers h, so he drove slow. It was late, getting dark, as he told us. Around Zerendi settlement, he notices a girl hitchhiking on the highway at night. Pretty face, he stops. I asked him, what if bandits wanting to rob or something? I wouldn't stop in his place, so he rolls down the window and asks where to, etc. She just nods and gets in. Uncle starts telling her he's only going to Kokshetau, like where does she need to go? She stays silent. Then he notices her legs, calves end and hooves. Freaked out, he jumps out and somehow asks her to get out too, help with something. He was terrified, barely remembers what he said. Made up nonsense, he says. He gets back in quick and floors it. The girl chases him and starts kicking the car from behind with her hooves. He says his body was shaking, eyebrows went completely gray. He made it to the city safely, bumper dented. By the way, his eyebrows really are gray now. I was shocked, though there are lots of stories about this girl. Truckers say they've seen her standing not far from the shoulder but didn't dare stop. Even mentioned in some old Kazakh film long ago. That's it. Kapchagaiskaya Highway. Story happened on Kapchagaiskaya Highway, recognized as anomalous and most accident-prone, especially between 42nd and 103rd kilometers. Two young people in autumn evening 2006 were heading from Kapchagai to Almaty. On the way, they spotted a woman in white dress hitchhiking. Stopped to ask if she needed a ride. But while she explained the address to the driver, the passenger closer to her saw her long dress fly up in a gust of wind, and with horror realized, instead of legs, she had hooves. His wild scream, "Let's get out of here fast," made the driver floor it. The woman chased them for a while but then fell behind. Kordai Pass. This woman was walking on the road at Kordaisky Pass in a long white dress. Someone decided to pick her up. No one noticed the hooves, but when she got in, they heard characteristic clacking. They didn't get far. The car suddenly and inexplicably ended up in the ditch, flipped over. What happened next and where the woman with hooves disappeared? The story doesn't say. Skeptics say there's no way a hoofed ghost could exist. And why hooves anyway? Hit by a horse or something? But dig deeper. How many know the origin and meaning of the word nightmare? In one ancient language, it means nightmare and comes from ancient Greek myths, where one of the night demons appeared to travelers as half woman, half horse.